So because you don't like him, you change your ideals completely. You have no morals. Your morals change because someone that you don't like supports something that you like. What is wrong with you? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Consider this. Hitler was a staunch animal activist. So I know many people that love animals, especially dog and cat lovers. So many people love animals. So Jimmy Dore, if Hitler, he loved animals, right? So you would stop loving animals because Hitler was an animal lover? Are you stupid? What makes sense is to be against Hitler for what he is wrong about, but saying, oh, I can't love animals now because he loved animals, that makes you stupid and morally corrupt. You have no morals if you say anything like that. Your morals doesn't change based on whether someone agrees or disagrees with your morals.
Keep it 100, I be feeling like Campbell soup over white rice. Baked chicken with the skin on. Yeah, Lowry's with black pepper. I'm fully seasoned with laughter.
So what's up, y'all? Excuse my setup. I had surgery 2 days ago as the recording of this video, and I'm high off meds right now. So they got me on
Percocet, Miley Percocet, Percocet, Miley Percocet.
Yeah, every time I talk about Percocets, I'm gonna play that song every single time. So I'm gonna try my best to stay awake throughout this video. It's very hard. I'm trying my best not to fall asleep while making this video because I'm very tired. I don't know how anybody really... Anyways, that's besides the point. Let me get to the video. So what I want to talk about today is the Medicare for All March. The Medicare for All March, it happened, I believe, on the 26th or 27th of July. I'm not sure the exact date. My fact checking is going to be really off. I didn't even really get to write a script because I'm falling asleep. I've been trying to write a script for 3-4 days. Cannot get it done because I'm falling asleep every 10 minutes. Cannot stay awake more than 10 minutes. So it's going to be a miracle if I can do it for this video. It might work since I'm talking. Maybe not. You probably see I'm falling asleep right now. So Medicare for All March. It happened on the 26th or 27th of July. Don't remember the exact date. So it was a march that came together because of organizers on the ground, organizers on the street. And you would expect politicians who ran on Medicare for All to be there and to be active in the march, at least to show up to the march, especially politicians like Bernie Sanders and politicians like AOC, who their entire campaign was based on Medicare for All. That's what they ran on. That's what they said they would fight for. So over 150,000 people show up to these marches across 50 cities. You know who weren't at these marches? Bernie Sanders, AOC, Ilhan Omar, none of the Justice Democrats, none of the Democrats who won the Georgia election, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. They did not show up to these marches. And that's a problem. How are you going to run on Medicare for All and don't show up to the largest marches for Medicare for All? That tells me one thing, really. One thing. They don't actually care about getting Medicare for All. They care on running on Medicare for All. Because there's no way in hell there's going to be a march that's organized by community organizers, by small-time activist groups that over 150,000 people showed up to. There's no way those people could organize those marches. You don't show up. If you would have showed up, imagine someone like AOC showing up to those marches and Bernie Sanders. Combined, they have 50 million Twitter followers? Imagine the turnout. I remember Bernie Sanders when he was running for president, both 2016 and 2020, he said he would have people in the streets. Where the hell are your plans in your marches to have people in the streets, Bernie Sanders? AOC said how we need to yell at politicians and protest. Ever since that first protest in front of Nancy Pelosi's office, she's been MIA. She hasn't been at a single damn protest. How you don't... Her entire campaign in 2018, I believe, was on Medicare for All. I was a volunteer on the campaign, so I have the right to criticize her as much as anybody. Because I could have been doing something else. I could have been working. Instead, I took my time and volunteered it for free to help her get elected. To not show up to a Medicare for All march? Are you kidding me? And then the very next day after Medicare for All marches, since AOC did not show up to the marches, there were protests outside of her office. And you know what she did? She closed the office. She closed the office the day they were going to protest outside of her office. And then she reopened it the next day. And yet you have people kissing AOC's behind. Are you kidding me? The Justice Democrats are terrible, and AOC is the face of how terrible the Justice Democrats are. And Bernie Sanders is completely spineless. He doesn't fight. He hasn't mentioned Medicare for All. He's barely mentioned it since Joe Biden got elected. So it was only important when Donald Trump was in office? Are you kidding me? When there's no chance to get it, that's when it was important? Now, the left that's supposed to push Joe Biden to the left, they're no longer fighting for Medicare for All? During the pandemic, when over 500,000 Americans have died from COVID? Are you kidding me? And 33,000 people die every single year because they lack health care. And this isn't the time to fight for Medicare for All? Right now, during the global pandemic? Joe Biden right now has the ability to sign Medicare for All if he wanted to, he can expand Medicare. It's a provision in Obamacare that allows you to expand Medicare for everyone during an emergency. And a global pandemic is absolutely an emergency, but Joe Biden won't do it because he doesn't want to do it. He said if Medicare for All got to his desk, he would veto it because he doesn't care about the people. And neither does Bernie Sanders, neither does AOC. How the hell did she close her office the day after when they come into protest because she did not show up for a Medicare for All march? She's supposed to be our fighter? These Justice Democrats are terrible. And here's the thing. I want to touch on a bit more than just Justice Democrats because they're, of course, terrible and many people can see that by now. I want to touch on a few other people. So, this march was organized by on-the-ground organizers. Community activists. Activists organized a march. Activists who are relatively unknown organized a march that over 150,000 people showed up to across 50 cities. They did an amazing job. We need to applaud those people. What I want to talk about is how some who claimed that they are in favor of Medicare for All claimed so for years, especially when Bernie Sanders ran for his first presidential primary. Those people, oh, I'm so tired. The people that ran, I'm sorry if I lose my train of thought, that's very possible. I'm trying to keep my eyes open and stay focused. I'm gonna get it. So the people, I'm gonna be like this for a couple of months because of this medication, by the way. So I'm not trying to not make YouTube video for a few months. So the people that, people who claim that they were in favor of Medicare for All for years, when Donald Trump was in office, when Bernie Sanders was still in office, they shat on Medicare for All activists. Grassroots organizers they shat on. They didn't show up to the march. The Young Turks, who have 5 million YouTube subscribers, didn't even mention the Medicare for All march until after the fact, when they went to go crap on it and crap on the grassroots organizers. And they did so, according to them, because Jimmy Dore was a part of the march. Are you stupid? What is wrong with you? Jimmy Dore was one person in one city who gave a 3-4 minute speech on Medicare for All. So because you don't like him, you change your ideals completely. You have no morals. Your morals change because someone that you don't like supports something that you like. What is wrong with you? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Consider this. Hitler was a staunch animal activist. So I know many people that love animals, especially dog and cat lovers. So many people love animals. So Jimmy Dore, if Hitler, he loved animals, right? So you would stop loving animals because Hitler was an animal lover? Are you stupid? What makes sense is to be against Hitler for what he is wrong about, but saying, oh, I can't love animals now because he loved animals, that makes you stupid and morally corrupt. You have no morals if you say anything like that. Your morals doesn't change based on whether someone agrees or disagrees with your morals. Because even if you believe that someone like Jimmy Dore is wrong most often, like the Young Turks would probably say, at best, what you would say, or at worst, really, I don't know, I'm tired. You would say a dead clock is right twice a day. So he's right on this. We're going to stand with him. We're going to rally our 5 million YouTube subscribers, however many Twitter followers that we have, to get people to show up for this Medicare for All march. And we're going to fight for Medicare for all during a global pandemic. That's what you would do. But instead, you shit on those activists who put the work in. You know, say what you want, right, about Jimmy Dore. People calling him a grifter, they're on drugs. And they're day drinkers. That doesn't make any damn sense. Since he's been into political commentary, he's always been against the wars. He's always been for Medicare for all. Those are two things that you have to say that's true about him. His entire career being in political commentary. The Young Turks. Cenk Uygur was in favor of bombing Syria until Donald Trump was against it. This is not a debate. Cenk Uygur was definitely in favor of bombing Syria. I created a whole video on Cenk Uygur being in favor of bombing Syria and being pro-intervention in Libya. So Cenk Uygur changed his ideology based on what Donald Trump supported. So he was in favor of bombing Libya before Donald Trump, which is the wrong position. Then after Donald Trump was he's in favor of bombing Syria before Donald Trump was in office, which is the wrong position, and in favor of intervening in Libya, which led to child slavery, which is also the wrong position. But then he was against bombing Syria once Donald Trump was in favor of bombing Syria. And it's still the wrong position. The only thing that changed is Donald Trump now supported it. What is wrong with you? You have no morals. You're morally corrupt. You're a terrible person. And every single person smearing Medicare for all activists because one person that you don't like is in favor of Medicare for all march. How can you be against a Medicare for all march and call yourself a progressive show? What is wrong with you? Something's seriously wrong with you. You're terrible. You're a morally corrupt person. And you don't deserve to be called a progressive. You don't deserve to have a show. The great thing is about the Young Turks specifically is most people are waking up and realizing just how terrible they are. Now, the same thing that happened with AOC. The same thing that happened with the Justice Democrats. They're all corrupt. They're not taking money, but the definition of corrupt doesn't mean you need to take money in order for you to be corrupt. I can't remember the definition of corruption off the top of my head of being corrupt, but I'm posting the definition. Take a look here. So you can be corrupt without taking corporate money. It's absolutely possible. AOC and the Justice Democrats are corrupt because they're doing the bidding of the corrupt Democrats. AOC, she fundraised from grassroots activists, and instead of using that money to help other progressives get elected who are not taking corporate money, she gave that money to corporate Democrats. That's definitely corruption. And here's why AOC and the Justice Democrats are corrupt. Because while they may not be taking corporate PAC money, they became celebrities from becoming political figures. They're much better off than they were prior to becoming political figures. So now they're just going along to get along in their cushy jobs where they have Medicare for all and we don't. They live lives that are so much better now compared to prior to them being congressional members. And they just want to go along to get along. They don't want to rock the boat. That's why we put them in office. They're absolutely atrocious. What happened to pushing Joe Biden left? Push your damn self left. Candidate AOC she was left. Before she got elected the first time, anybody knew her. I first met AOC because she was campaigning in a bar near the Barclays Center. And I instantly knew who she was because I watched shows like Secular Talk, The Young Turks, Jimmy Dore, platforms that she used to rise to fame. So I instantly knew who she was, and I spoke to her. We had a detailed conversation. One of the things we spoke about was Medicare for all. And she told me how she's different because she's not taking any corporate PAC money. She's only using money raised from the people. And I was stupid enough to buy that. And I'm like, I support this woman. I support her in her efforts to get elected. And me at the time, I was really struggling financially because I got really sick a year prior. And I lost all my savings to medical debt. I couldn't work for 2 years because I got so sick, and autoimmune disease that's obviously beyond my control. And at that point, I was working. So I would come home from work. And instead of spending time with the girl I was dating at the time, I would volunteer for AOC. Because she promised me that she would fight for Medicare for all. Then she closes her damn office. She doesn't go to the Medicare for All march organized by grassroots activists. And she closed her office the day people planned to protest outside her office for her not to go, because she decided not to go to the Medicare for All marches. That's disgusting. That's despicable. What is wrong with you? Something is seriously wrong with you. I would work with anybody. I don't care if you're on the right, if you're a stupid neoliberal, or if you're on the left. Anyone who is in favor of Medicare for all, I will work with them. In 2014, I was in a wheelchair. I was in a wheelchair for about 2 years, from 2012, the end of 2012 to 2014, going into 2015. And the reason I was in a wheelchair is because I had a busted ankle and a busted knee on the opposite leg, and I could not walk. And I was in a wheelchair because I didn't have insurance for 2 years, so I could not see a doctor. And I couldn't even leave the house. I wasn't even in the wheelchair the entire time. I was laying on my bed, couldn't get around. And I used my Nana's wheelchair after she passed. That's the only reason I was able to get around. That still messes with me to this day. What really killed me is I couldn't work. I had to leave school, obviously, because I went to Syracuse University initially, and I couldn't get around. It's impossible to get around campus on Syracuse University in a wheelchair. It's not wheelchair accessible whatsoever. There are so many hills. The city of Syracuse, if you're in a wheelchair, you would die. There's so many hills that are so steep that are impossible to get around if you're at Syracuse. So I couldn't even go back there if I wanted to. But I wasn't in a wheelchair for most of that period. I was just laying down in bed in pain, couldn't afford any medication. Couldn't see a doctor because I didn't have health insurance. And I couldn't work to get my Nana her medication because I didn't have health insurance. And she passed because I couldn't afford to get her medication. Her insurance wouldn't pay for proper medication. She passed at 59. So for me, anybody who is against Medicare for all, who pushes propaganda against Medicare for all, I'm coming for the neck. I'm coming for them. Because this is something that's deeply personal to me. It's deeply personal to me. Climate change, prior to that happening, was my number one issue, and it's my number 2 issue right now, and the money out of politics. But right now, Medicare for all, if I see anyone pushing any propaganda against Medicare for all, I promise you, I'm coming for your neck. I promise you. Do not do it. I'm a small channel right now, but it's not going to stay that way. But you're going to, anybody who pushes propaganda against Medicare for all, you're going to regret it. I can promise you that. Because this isn't something that's a gimmick. People are losing their lives. 33,000 people die a year because they lack Medicare for all. And it's important that we put faces to some of these people that died. One of these was my Nana, Beryl Miller. She died because of it. Another was this girl didn't die, but there was a 7-year-old girl who couldn't afford life-saving surgery. I did a story on it. I'm going to link it. She could not afford life-saving surgery, so she had to sell lemonade in order to raise money for a life-saving surgery. A 7-year-old girl. That should not be the system that we live in. That's absolutely terrible and atrocious. There's no excuse for that. But we have politicians who claim they're in favor of Medicare for all and won't show up to a damn march. Where are you, Nina Turner? Yes, I get you're running for a seat in Ohio 11th District. I get that. And I support you in your race, but you should have been at this march. You don't think you would have gotten more support being at a damn Medicare for all march? Like I said in my video I made for Nina Turner, I said I support her policies. But I would criticize anybody, any politician. I would never be friends with a politician. I don't know what the hell is wrong with you kissing ass trying to get access to a politician. That would never be me. A politician should never want to come on my show. And if they decide once my show is large enough they want to come on my show, my goal is to make sure they don't want to come back. Not to get them back to my show. What is wrong with the Young Turks? Anyways, like I said in my video about Nina Turner, I support her policies. But if she does something I feel is wrong, I'm criticizing her just like I do everybody else. Because I'm not an ass kisser. So, Nina Turner, you should have been at that march. Bernie Sanders, you should have been at that march. AOC, you should have been at that march. And none of y'all were there. Nina Turner, I guess, is the most excusable, but not really. The rest of y'all, there's no excuse. Where the hell is Jamal Bowman? Where's Cori Bush? Where's Ilhan Omar? Ayanna Pressley? What other Justice Democrats am I missing? I don't know. Pramila Jayapal, she reintroduced the Medicare for All Act a couple of, maybe 3-4 months ago. I believe she did so in March. And then she said, in terms of forced to vote, that we cannot vote on it because it would kill the movement. Are you kidding me? What type of drugs are you on? I know I'm on drugs right now and it has me barely awake. But what type of drugs are you on? Are you a day drinker? How do you say something so stupid? How would voting on the bill kill the movement? You really think that voting on the bill means, and it failing, means it wouldn't pass at all in the future? Women's suffrage failed 11 times. Yet, women are able to vote. So you would have been against voting on women's suffrage? The Civil Rights Act failed, I believe, over 30 times. Over 30 times it failed. So did the movement to get civil rights fail? Did women's suffrage fail because it was voted on and failed more than 10 times, both of those acts? Did that movement fail? Or can black people vote today? Can women vote today? What is wrong with you? How do you say something so stupid? You're a congressperson. You're supposed to be educated. There's no way you actually believe that. I don't believe you believe that because I believe you're smart. I believe that you're morally corrupt. You're gaslighting people. That's why I believe. There's no way that you don't know women's suffrage failed many times. We all learned that in history class. In like the 8th, 9th, 10th grade. We all learned that. You learned that. And you're going to say the movement would fail if we have a vote on it? So I'm going to just end this video because I'm just ranting at this point. And I am very, very tired. Don't do drugs, kids. I don't have a word of the day for today because I was too tired to write a script. So, 100% this. Peace.
Well, I've been stacking up. Nah, really that ain't accurate, cause I just spent my whole damn advance in the past couple months just to compensate for times we ain't have enough. Ooh.